Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. It is noon, so we'll get started. My name is Vanessa, and I'm with ITS Communications. And today we have Carrie Jedlicka, who is with the Wood Library, and she's going to be discussing PubMed Essentials. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind everybody that we will be recording this session and sending it out to everybody via email later by the end of the day, as well as any helpful links that Carrie discusses during the presentation. So you're free to take a look at that, whenever you have a chance, and even share it with colleagues. If you have any questions during the session, if you could just type them in the chat, which is the little speech bubble button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll be monitoring the chat during the session, and Carrie will be taking questions throughout the presentation, so we can make sure we answer all of your questions about PubMed today. But without further ado, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you. Welcome everyone, and thank you, Vanessa. My name is Carrie Jedlicka, and I'm a clinical medical librarian at the Samuel J. Wood Library. Today we'll be talking about how to use the basic or essential features of PubMed. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, I initially shared it and realized I hadn't unmuted myself, so I had to back up. All right,
Looks
so
good.
hopefully, okay, great, thanks, Vanessa. All right, so today's learning outcomes, by the end of our session, you should be able to define PubMed and explain the key differences between the PubMed database and search engines like Google. You should be able to use the most essential tasks and functionality, including how to obtain full text, how to refine your search results, and how to save a search. And you'll also be able to review resources for further learning. So this is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with some PowerPoint slides, then we'll move into our live demo in PubMed. We will try to keep things interactive with some live polling questions, and we will take a couple breaks for Q&A. Feel free to put your questions in the chat during the presentation, and I will do my best to answer them during our Q&A breaks. So let's get started with our first round of Zoom polls. Vanessa, if you don't mind launching the first set. Okay, great. These are just a couple questions to help me get to know you as an audience and your experience with PubMed. Okay, great. It looks like most of the group, I think, has voted at this point. So get those answers in now if you'd like. Okay, I think we can go ahead and end the poll. All right, so I see that most of this group has a little bit of experience with PubMed. This is going to be a good fit for you guys. And I see that at Weill Cornell, oh, we have a nice mix. We've got a variety of staff members, some students, clinical research faculty as well. That's terrific. And I see, oh, very interesting, that most of you are using PubMed for research. Also some for educational resources and grant or administrative support. Thank you so much. This really helps me understand you a little bit better as an audience, and I'll keep this in mind as we continue. All right, so let's get into our lecture. So we'll start at the very beginning. What is PubMed? So PubMed is a free search engine maintained by the US government that provides access to biomedical literature. So there are two important components of PubMed. So PubMed itself is the search interface. and PubMed searches Medline. Medline is a database run by the National Library of Medicine, and it holds more than 27 million references to journal articles in the life sciences with a concentration on biomedicine. And Medline does not contain every biomedical journal or article, but it does index several thousand biomedical journals from 1966 to the present. There are other ways to search Medline. One popular search engine is Ovid Medline, but you have to pay for a subscription to use Ovid. So PubMed is the most common way to search Medline. In addition to Medline, PubMed also provides access to a number of life science journals, ebooks, and citations in PubMed Central. So PubMed Central has a very similar name to PubMed, but it is a different database. This can cause confusion. PubMed Central is a free archive for full text biomedical and life sciences journal articles. PubMed Central is also a repository for author manuscripts that have been submitted in compliance with the NIH public access policy, and also some similar policies of other research funding agencies. I should note that PubMed provides links to full text articles that are made available when possible. And the full text is actually provided through publishers' websites or PubMed Central generally. As a member of the Weill Cornell community, you'll get access to full text articles through our institutional subscriptions, as long as you've accessed PubMed with our Easy Proxy link. And we will discuss how you do that during our demo. So what are some advantages of searching PubMed as compared to searching with Google or Google Scholar? So the advantages include the fact that PubMed provides published literature from biomedical journals only. If you are searching in Google Scholar, you are more likely to retrieve more noise, as we would say, in your results. And this could include non-scholarly materials or duplicate materials. PubMed is also indexed by trained human beings, which is different from Google. And because of this, PubMed has features that can help you find evidence more quickly and efficiently. One of these features are filters. Filters can help you refine your search results by categories such as species, age, sex, publication type, or study design, and language, among other options. PubMed also clearly shows you when an article has been retracted. A banner will display on the screen. And I have found that you may have to do more searching to find out if an article has been retracted in Google. And then finally, another advantage is mesh. So what is mesh? I'm guessing most of you have heard of mesh before. So mesh stands for medical subject headings. As you're probably aware, in medicine, it is not uncommon for medical terms to have different names, and that sometimes medical terms change over time. So mesh is great in that it searches for synonyms and related concepts when you're searching. You don't have to type in every single variation of a term. And mesh is assigned to articles by the trained human indexers I mentioned before. Even better, when you type in search terms in PubMed, PubMed will automatically try to match your search terms to the most appropriate mesh terms. This is a really nice feature called automatic term mapping, and it can allow for more precise searching than in Google Scholar. So you can take advantage of mesh terms without actually knowing the correct mesh terms. So here's just a quick example. Say, for instance, I was looking for literature on a heart attack, and that's what I entered into PubMed. PubMed would match this to the closest mesh term, which is myocardial infarction. And these are just a few other examples of entry terms that would also map to this mesh term. So you can be assured that when you're typing your search terms in PubMed, they're going to try to match it to the best mesh term, and you're going to get all the relevant literature. We're not going to explore mesh in a ton of detail today. It's sort of beyond the scope of this session. But I will provide a link to a recorded Tech Tuesday that does talk about mesh in a little more detail if there's more that you'd like to learn. So no scholarly database can do all things, and it's important to mention some of the limitations of PubMed. So journals from non-English speaking countries and research published in languages other than English are underrepresented, both in Medline and in PubMed. If you are specifically interested in gray literature, which would be literature that's not formally published in sources such as books or journal articles, such as, for instance, conference proceedings or meeting abstracts, these types of literature are generally not indexed in PubMed. And we would recommend that you try another database, such as Embase or Scopus or Web of Science. So how trustworthy is PubMed? In recent years, it has been found that articles from some unethical journals have found their way into PubMed. PubMed Central has less rigorous criteria for indexing, and that may have allowed some publications to sort of leak into PubMed. You may be familiar with the term predatory journals. These are journals that lack rigorous peer review and operate primarily to make money rather than to advance science. I should note some scholars take issue with the term predatory, and the language is changing. Some people prefer to say bad faith journals or unscrupulous journals, but I'm using this term today because it is still in wide usage. What does this mean for you as a searcher? This means that you need to critically appraise publications in PubMed, hopefully in the same way that you might do in Google or Google Scholar. You want to read beyond the abstract of a publication and really take a look at the methodological quality of studies and the author's claims to make sure that this is a high quality article. Okay, I will also mention another really nice feature about PubMed is being able to save your searches and also create citation collections with a free NCBI account. I do want to mention that as of this month, NCBI has made some changes. In the past, if you had an NCBI account, you simply had to sign up, add an email address of your choice, and create a password. So now the old NCBI account passwords are being phased out. This is being done for security purposes. So now you will need to add a third-party login, or what they are terming federated credentials, which is essentially logging in through certain institutional logins to your NCBI account. So third-party logins could include your Gmail login, if you have an account through NIH, ERA Commons, or ORCID, or you could log in with your Weill Cornell Seaweed that falls under the federated credentials category. So if you are interested in adding your Weill Cornell credentials to your NCBI account, when you go to the page, you are going to select more login options. And then you're going to be prompted to look at this alphabetical list of different research and educational institutes. Essentially, these are organizations that have a relationship with the National Library of Medicine, and you're going to select Weill Cornell. So as long as my web browser is being agreeable, I will show you how to do this process during our demo. But I did want to make you aware of these changes that were happening. All right, so maybe we could take a moment or two for questions. Vanessa, can you tell me if there are questions in the chat?
There aren't any so far, but if anybody does have a question, you can type it in now or further down in the session. So.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Yes, we will take another break for Q&A at the end, so feel free to enter your questions. Okay, so now we're going to move to the exciting part of the presentation, which is our live demo. So these are some of the essential tasks we will review in PubMed. We are going to look at how to conduct a very basic search. We will look at how to access full text articles. We will look at PMIDs or PubMed IDs. We'll look at how to request an article through interlibrary loan. And we will look at refining search results with filters and sorting your search results using display options. And finally, we will create an NCBI account and save a search. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint, and I am going to log into Safari. Let's see. Can you see the library homepage?
Yep, it looks great.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so it is important to note that when you're searching in PubMed, I recommend starting from the Weill Cornell Medicine Library homepage. You can just Google Weill Cornell Library if you don't have the URL at hand. And you'll see here under popular e-resources, PubMed is going to be the first resource that pops up. PubMed moved to a new version last year. So this will bring you to, this is a specific special link that is going to connect you to PubMed through Easy Proxy. So if you have remote access for looking at articles and resources, then this is the link that you want to use. If you use this Easy Proxy link, it will show you all of your options for full text that you can see as a member of the Weill Cornell community. And at some point, you're going to be prompted to log in with your seaweed. If you go to visit PubMed without using the special link, you won't see your options for full text. And I should mention that if you can bookmark this link if you use PubMed a lot and you don't want to keep coming back to our website. But this is an easy way to do it. All right. So here is our is the PubMed homepage. And I just want to point out there's a couple resources at the bottom that when you have more time, you may want to check out. They've got some nice resources for learning. This is clinical queries. If you are only interested in searching for clinical research studies, then you can check out clinical queries. We don't really have time to review that today, but I do want to bring it up as something you may want to check out. We also have, there's also the MESH database. If you're interested in exploring MESH terms, you can do it through here. All right. So now let's run a very simple search in PubMed. Let's see if I've saved my search terms. Yes. All right, let's say I want to do a search on chronic pain and non-pharmacological interventions. So note that I have added "and" here in all capital letters. We call this a Boolean operator. This lets PubMed know that you are searching two different search concepts and you only want to find articles that have both of these search concepts. So then we will click search. Okay, so here we go. We have 477 results. You can see in the middle of the page, here are the publications that we pulled back or that we retrieved. And then over on the left, we have some search filters. I'm actually going to sort this by best match. I'll talk about this in a little more detail soon. Okay, so let's say we want to get full text of an article. We're going to click on the title. And let's quickly look at the information that we have on this page. So we have something here called a PMID. So this is a set of unique integers that have been assigned to this article. So it simply identifies this article in PubMed. If you were to cut and paste this PMID and put it in the search box, you would retrieve the same article. And PMIDs can be very helpful if you are reaching out to a librarian asking for help finding full text. If you can include the PMID, that can be very useful for us. So we know that we are retrieving the correct article for you. We also have our author information below. We have our article abstract. And PubMed is going to suggest some similar articles based on your search terms. I often find that these are helpful when I'm literature searching. So you may want to check these out. Further down, we have publications that have cited your article. And then even further down, we start to run into our indexing, including our mesh terms. As I mentioned, we're not going to talk a lot about mesh in detail, but I did want to point out, so chronic pain was a mesh term that mapped to our search term. And this is a subheading for rehabilitation. But anyway, this is a way you can, if you're interested in the mesh terms, you can find out where they are for your articles. Okay, so if we want to get full text, so we have these buttons here under full text links. So you always want to click on the red Get It at WCMC button. This will show you your options for full text through our institutional subscriptions. So I would skip the other buttons. All right, and so this is going to redirect us back to our library catalog. All right, and we see our options for full text. We've got a few through Elsevier and also an open access version through Unpaywall. And sometimes you will get an option just to download the PDF automatically. So let's try that. Okay, great. Wow. Sometimes, sometimes you have to click on a couple other boxes, but this is nice. We were immediately able to download the full text. So let's go back to our search. Let's see. Sorry, I'm toggling around a little bit. So what happens if you're looking for an article and there isn't full text? What do you do? I'm going to enter a PMID for an article that I happen to know we don't have access to. Okay, so if I click on the link, or sorry, click on the red Get It button. Okay, so I get the message, no full text available. While there is a note up here that says read article, I happen to know that will only bring me to a paywall. So what you want to do is request from Weill Cornell Medicine interlibrary loan services. So this will allow, you select your institution and you log in with your CWED. And through interlibrary loan, a librarian will reach out to another library with whom we have a relationship and request this article. So this interlibrary loan form very nicely auto-filled for us. I'm sorry to say that is not always the case, especially if an article is very new. But in the event that your form doesn't autofill, you just fill out the information, certainly the asterisk categories, but I think as much as you can provide is helpful, and you can simply just cut and paste that information from PubMed. And then you go to the button down at the bottom and submit request. Okay, so we've talked about full text and we have talked about interlibrary loan. Let's go back to our search results and let's look at the filters and see how we can refine this search. So the filters are here on the left. If I'm interested in filtering by year, as we can see, our publication dates go back to 1978. I can play around with this feature or I can simply select one of these years. So let's say I'm only interested in maybe the last 10 years. I get a note letting me know the filter has been applied, and I can see the results have changed. In terms of this filter, text availability, we would recommend skipping this. So this is more about finding free full text through, say, PubMed Central. It's not going to really apply to you as a member of the WILE community. So I would skip this. However, some of the more useful filters include article type. If you are interested in evidence-based medicine and you are looking for publications that have a high level of evidence, you can select certain article types, such as systematic reviews or RCTs, and filter that way. And I'm going to show you, so when you begin to use filters more over time, they start to auto-populate here. If you're new, they might not appear. But if you click on additional filters, you'll see there are actually quite a number of article types and study types that you can choose from. If you speak a language other than English and you want to include those articles in your search, you can do that as well. You can filter by species if you're only interested in human or other animal studies. And then another one that I use sometimes is age. If there's a specific age population you're interested in, you can add that to your search. And let me show you, if you select one of these additional filters, you tick the box, you click show, and then it actually appears here on the side. You need to click it again in order for the filter to work. So let's say for this search, maybe I'm also going to filter by systematic reviews. All right, so now I'm down to 53 results. So this is a much more refined search. One caveat I want to add about the filters is that these filters are created through indexing done by human beings, and there is a lag time between the time when an article is published and when they are indexed so that they would appear in the filters. I think it would be fair to say that about 6 to 9 months for lag time is probably a safe bet. So, if you're being very careful with your searching, I mean, say for this search, these are the filters I've applied, but I want to check and make sure that I didn't miss anything that came out this year that's not getting picked up by the filter. I can clear the search and then sort my results by most recent. And that is going to show me those results. I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to clear my results and then sort by most recent. So as you can see, the most recent article is from June 9th of this month. And actually it is a systematic review. So that was sort of helpful. I'm showing you most recent. PubMed generally defaults to sort by best match. And PubMed is using its algorithms to look at your search terms and try to figure out what articles are going to be the best fit. It's not always perfect, but it's often pretty good. And it does mean hopefully you shouldn't be having to scroll through page after page in order to find some relevant articles. In addition, other display options. So the format we have right now is summary, but you can also format by abstract if you want to put those all on one page so you're not having to click and look at every single title that you're interested in. And PubMed defaults to show 10 citations per page, but you can increase that number if you wish. Okay, so let's quickly go look at creating an NCBI account. So you want to go to this login button at the top of the screen. All right, so I'm going to pretend that I'm new to PubMed and I need to save a search, but I don't have an NCBI account. I'm gonna, all right, go here. So basically you're gonna want, keep clicking more login options until you get to new here. And then you are gonna sign up. Okay, so as I mentioned, they're gonna prompt you to sign in with a third-party login. If you try to click on create new NCBI account, you're gonna get a warning that the passwords are going away. So they recommend not using this option. If you want to link your account to Weill Cornell, you go to more sign-in options, and here's that alphabetized list that I mentioned. And you simply find Weill Cornell. Okay, so it recognizes me. So it's prompting me to log in with my seaweed, which I'll do. If you were creating your account, this is the point when it would be asking you to enter your name and email information. But this is what the process will look like once you've signed up. Okay, so this is my login. So saved searches are kept in a dashboard. So here you can see all the saved searches I've had from the past couple years. NCBI will also keep track of your recent activity or some of your recent activity. I wouldn't say that it really tracks everything. And if that's a feature you don't wish to use, you can turn it off. You can also create collections of bibliographies and citations. Okay, so let's go save our search now that we've got set up with our account. So to save a search, you want to go to create alert. And you can change the name of your search if you wish. Here are your search terms. And if you wish, you can be emailed updates of new search results. You can decide what email address you want them to go to, how often you want results, and then don't forget to save at the bottom. All right, so, and then let's go back into my dashboard. Okay, and then here we have our chronic pain and non-pharmacological intervention search. So if you want to look at that in the future, you just click on the link. Okay, great. I see we have a lot of questions coming up in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing. This brings us to the end of the demo section. And let's go back into our PowerPoint quickly. We're going to do a couple more Zoom polls, and then we'll get to your questions. Okay, Vanessa, would you mind launching the second round of Zoom polls? Awesome.
Got it.
Okay, so these are some quick questions to test your knowledge. It's a safe space, no judgment if you don't get them right, but just trying to see how much you've learned and if there's anything further that I can explain. So we'll give you guys maybe 30 seconds or so. Okay. I think that looks like we've got some good results. Maybe get your answers in quickly if you want to be part of the poll. But I see it's slowing down a bit. Okay, I think we can go ahead and end the poll, Vanessa. Okay, thank you. All right, so for question number 1, all right, good job. So most of you got this one correct. PubMed is one of multiple search interfaces you can use to search Medline. So yes, first answer is correct. For question 2, great work. Yes, everyone got that right. PubMed will attempt to match your search terms to the closest mesh terms. That's through the automatic term mapping feature. Finally, for these three, I asked which of the following statements are true. So for the first question, technically, yes, you can email the library if you need help locating an article online, but you also can make a request through interlibrary loan. So just remember that service is there if you need it. Yes, the red get it button will only appear if you use Weill Cornell's special URL for PubMed. So make sure you get that from our homepage. And then yes, the third answer is correct. And yes, you can save searches in an NCBI account. Now by logging in with a third-party account or federated credentials. So nice work. Oops, all right. So just quickly reviewing some of what we learned today. We defined PubMed and explained some key differences with search engines like Google. We looked at some key tasks and functionality like finding full text, refining search results, and saving a search. And we also, I'm going to show you some resources for further learning. So I think Vanessa will be emailing everyone with a recording, and these are some helpful resources you may want to check out. The first link at the top, if you need help using PubMed, I mean, if you would like some more of an in-depth orientation, please reach out to the library and we can help you with that. I also shared a couple links to some YouTube recordings of past Tech Tuesdays that were put on by me and my colleague, Andy Hickner, who is our wonderful education and outreach librarian. And he played an important role in the creation of content for those sessions and this one as well. And then a few other user guides. And finally, I have a link to information on updating your NCBI account, which might be helpful. All right. And now we can look at taking some questions.
Yes, we have a few.
Yes, great. And also just want to say that we have a survey evaluation, which I think will also be in the email that Vanessa sends out. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and let's take a look at some of these questions. Oh, wow. There's a really great conversation happening. Okay.
The first one about the advanced was in reference to when you were first logged into PubMed, and under the search bar, there's a little advanced link.
Yes.
And what that means.
Okay, yes. Let me quickly share my screen again. So some of the language in PubMed, I don't find to be the most intuitive. So I think that this is what we're referring to. So
yes, because it appears on the main page as well. It's that same link, yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So if you would like to see, this is a slightly more advanced PubMed feature, but it's good to know about. If you want to look at your search history, click on Advanced. And there is a PubMed search builder here you can use, but you can also see your search history details. So this is the search that we just ran. And since I'm here, I will show you, if you would like to see how PubMed interpreted your search, there's sort of some garbled up here, but if you look down at translations, we can see what chronic pain, oh, interesting. And, oh, okay, chronic pain and non-pharmacological. Oh, I see. So there was not a mesh term for non-pharmacological. That makes sense. So this is how how mesh has sort of interpreted some of your search terms. But this is a helpful feature to use. It's a little more advanced. If you're interested in using the advanced feature, I would suggest checking out that second YouTube video that we will share a link to on advanced PubMed. And you'll get some more assistance around that. So thank you for that question. Let's see. So there was a question about, are these requests free for the department and for employees? I'm guessing that is referring to interlibrary loan requests.
Yes, it was when you were discussing if you don't have the full text article, how you can request it, and those relationships with other libraries.
Good question. Okay, yes. So interlibrary loan is free for the Weill Cornell community. And I should mention turnaround time can vary. If it's just a simple, straightforward PDF, they might be able to get that request to you in just a few business days. If it's something more complex, it might take a little bit longer. Let's see. So what is the, oh, this is a very good question. What is the lag time for publication of an article online and its appearance in Medline or PubMed? Let's see. Okay. All right. So I have to admit, there is generally a lag time between when an article is published and when it appears in PubMed. I don't have an exact answer for you, but that is something I can try to find out. Let's see. And then there was a comment about difference between most recent, and publication date. All right, to be honest, so this question is referring to the display options in PubMed. There is an option to display by publication date. To be honest, I haven't used that. If that's something you want to play around with, I mean, I'm guessing if you want to specify a certain publication date, that's what that display option would do. I think for most of the searching that I do, sorting by best match or most recent sort of takes care of my needs. But if you have further questions with that, I am going to say you can reach out to me and I can look into that. And I'm also going to put my email in the chat in case anyone still has questions at the end of this session. Let's see if I can type correctly. Okay, yes, if there's anything you'd like me to follow up on. Let's see. Okay, so this is my colleague, Andy Hickner, who made a good point that if you're creating an NCBI account, he recommends only using the Weill Cornell option if you're planning to stick around at Weill Cornell. You know, if not, you might want to choose a different account method, you know, maybe Google something so that you won't lose it. So that is good to keep in mind. Okay, so a question, what type of database is searched with Google Scholar? So Google Scholar, I mean, I think I'm understanding correctly, it's not specifically a database, it's a search engine. So it is searching for materials over the web, but it's not a database per se. So that's something that's sort of very different. With PubMed, you are searching the Medline database. Andy, thank you. Andy just shared a helpful link about Google Scholar. So I think this might provide more information on this topic if you want to take a look. Thank you, Andy, for sharing that link. I'm just going to direct people to that link because I think it will probably do a better job explaining than I would. Okay, we have a question. Why is Embase different? So Embase is it's a completely different database from Medline. So we do have access to Embase through the library. It's also on the library homepage listed under popular e-resources. And Embase simply has a different focus. Embase could be useful to use, as I mentioned earlier, if you are interested in looking for gray literature. And it also contains more European literature. I think I mentioned Medline may tend to have more of an English speaking, more of an American or English speaking focus. So Embase is simply, it indexes different medical journals that have this different focus. So, you know, and it definitely can be good to check out different databases depending on what type of information you're looking for. I hope that information is helpful. So I will try to send Vanessa some information on some of the questions that I may not have fully answered and that she can include when she emails the group. Did I miss anything, Vanessa, that you can see?
I did get a couple of ones sent to me directly. One is just a confirmation of how to see that red get it button, get it at WCM button, which I think you already have a link for of how to access that through the library's website. So we can share that.
Right. So yes, just a reminder you will only see the red get it button if you use Weill Cornell's link to PubMed. So go to our library homepage and click on the link there. And then when you're searching, the red get it button will appear. If you just go straight to PubMed, you're not going to see that button. So yes, you need to use our special easy proxy link.
And I know we're running short on time. There was a question on how to manage your bibliography and up to date.
Manage your bibliography and up to date.
I can send to you after if that helps, just so you can reach out specifically.
Sure. So this is, so it sounds like this is about the up-to-date database. Yes, please email me that question and I will look into that. Anything
that was
else? Okay, great. Thank you all for your patience. I know this ran a little late. Thanks for the great questions and your participation. I really appreciate it. And please fill out the survey form when you can. Andy has put that in the chat. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.